Hey everybody, really excited to be here in person with Mark, who just graduated from higher levels, broke into Motive as an SDR in Austin, Texas. Actually just moved down here, which is why we get to do this in person, which is awesome. Really excited to share your story breaking into tech sales. You've got an awesome background that we'll get into. Maybe set the stage for everyone as to where you were before looking at tech sales, and we'll peel it back from there.
Sure. Yeah. No, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great moving down here. Been a bit of a transition coming from New Jersey and everything. But before this, I was actually in the Air Force for 4 years, traveled all over the world, was overseas the whole time. And then I just kind of went back into hospitality when I got out last year. And I kind of hit the point where I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to try something new. So people kept telling me, maybe look into sales. So I'm like, okay, look into sales. Why not? And so then I started looking into sales, big item sales, like physical sales, things of that nature. And I thought, what about tech? What about something with technology, something with software, hardware, things like that? And that's when I kind of started doing some deep research. Started using ChatGPT, like, hey, what can I do for tech sales? Like just basic prompts. And then eventually it kind of led me to a couple different courses that I could have taken. I looked into there was Coursera, I believe it was called. I looked into that. It seemed like a pretty legitimate thing. And then I came across Higher Levels. And I started doing the research. I looked at the homepage and just all the great details that you put into that. And then I saw the demos that you have on there, and I actually reached out to you on the little chat bot that you have there. And all the information was given to me, and I thought, and you actually offer the 2-week guarantee, I believe it is, with Higher Levels. So I was like, okay, well, what do I got to lose? Why not? I got nothing going on, might as well do it. So I signed up for it, and immediately when I signed up for it, it was just a ton of information about it. Just going into sales, it just gives you everything you need to know. Just all the courses. Anytime I had a question about something, somehow y'all read my mind, and it just happened to come up in the next lesson. I'm like, I don't know how they did that, but overall it was great. Just taught me a lot about beefing up the resume, how to reach out to people, basically what it takes to be an SDR in general. I think it's kind of cool how it kind of they're parallel like that. And so I was in Higher Levels I went through the whole course and everything, and I started reaching out. I was in for about a month and a half, I believe. And I reached out to about 20 companies overall, I think, total. And I wound up getting offers from 3. And I wound up choosing Motive. Mainly just because I like Motive. I like what they offer. I like how they work with the physical economy and just, making people safer, making these companies that they work with more profitable, more productive, just, better education for their drivers, things like that. So the move down to Austin was a big one, but relocation, I'm always up for relocating. I like seeing somewhere new. But overall, that's kind of not in a nutshell, but that's pretty much the long-winded version. Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. And I'd love to tap into this too. I think obviously we've helped people with all types of backgrounds. You having the military background, I believe bartending as well. When you say hospitality, like I could see someone very much thinking like, hey, it's not tech, it's not really sales experience. If you had any challenges getting noticed for applications, I'd be curious, like, what did you do to make people think like, yes, this person from the Air Force that's a bartender has relevant experience or would be able to do this? Would just love to pick your lens specifically.
Yeah, sure. So, working in hospitality for as long as I have, I've been in hospitality pretty much my whole working life, like 15 years or so. And then obviously working in the Air Force. I think and I'm not trying to speak for recruiters or anything like that, but I think when recruiters see that you worked in hospitality, so it shows that you're personable, it shows that you know how to talk to people. So I kind of played on that strength as well when I would reach out to these individuals. Definitely put that into my resume as well, try to, enhance it a little bit with certain words and vernacular. But aside from that, the military also, I think when people see veteran, they think, oh, he's disciplined. He knows how to have a workflow. He knows how to talk with people. He understands hierarchy. He knows how to meet certain quotas or criteria and follow the rules, and just reach out for help if he needs to. Just know how to use his wingman or battle buddy, whatever branch of military you want to refer to. So I think that I definitely played on that a lot. Definitely played on my military service and my outreach to people, and also putting that in my resume. So I would actually touch on that a lot when I was in the interview process as well. They would always ask me like, give me a time in the military when you faced this, or you encountered hardship, and how did you get over it when you faced a problem, things like that. So I think that it doesn't really matter what kind of background you have. I mean, I was lucky enough to have military background, so it's a pretty easy transition to be basically tell people, hey, I'm disciplined. Hey, I know how to handle myself. Hey, I know how to be a leader. But I think with everything, I mean, you can always kind of finagle it and kind of work it into just a nice resume and a nice LinkedIn, and just be able to make it stand out when you're getting interviewed.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And maybe a question there too, whether it's like from higher levels or just anyone watching that's looking for advice to stand out. With that, I know you've mentioned like the discipline, the social ability of being a bartender, which I totally agree with. Maybe looking at just the first 1 or 2 interviews with like a recruiter and sales manager, is there anything you feel like you did to particularly stand out, especially now when tech sales is probably one of the most competitive careers to break into?
Sure, no, absolutely, yeah. And you guys touch on that too in higher levels. You mentioned how competitive it is and how many people you're going to be going up against and how you really need to stand out. So I remember just something like standing out. I mean, just touching on that. I mean, I got a couple, whenever I would start these emails, sometimes they would start by saying like, hey, listen, really appreciate your outreach. Like, you'd be surprised at how many people just, basically write up a ChatGPT prompt and just send it in, like, and just be like, hey, can I have a job? And it's like, so just the fact that you just have to stand out a little bit, just something basic, just personalize it a little bit. But then when it comes to the interview process, getting interviewed in general, or in particular, I mean, essentially just be yourself. Honestly, just be prepared, do some research on the company. You don't have to know the ins and outs of everything and the quota attainment and what the KPIs are and all that. They'll tell you all that during the process. But just come with some good questions, be personable, dress nicely, stand up straight, make sure you're keeping eye contact, just things like that. Surprisingly, that is kind of rare nowadays to find in the interview process. I thought that was pretty standard, just me being me, but whatever. But apparently that does help you stand out. So just little things like that, I think, definitely help me in the beginner stages.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I know we were talking before recording too about like not having formal tech experience or exposure to that. You did interview with some rather technical companies.
Yes.
And obviously any of these companies, as you get towards final stages, maybe for the first time you're doing a cold call exercise or a presentation, it depends on the company. Looking at that, not having that formal tech experience, obviously you crushed it. Is there any advice you'd give to anyone that's getting to that for the first time? How did you prepare? How did you execute on those? I would love to pick your brain.
Sure, yeah. So it depends on the company. There was a couple companies that will give you like a situation for a cold call to be like, hey, you're going to be talking to so-and-so company and this is the issue they're facing, and try to notice and bring out this pain point and things like that. So some companies will kind of give you a prompt that you can work off of. Other companies will just straight up be like, hey, like, we're going to do a cold call. Try to book a meeting. So it depends on the company. Some companies will give you more than others. But again, I mean, if you have a company that's not really giving you much, do some research. Look at the customer stories. Look at the success stories. Look at pain points that they tend to fix within certain industries, things of that nature, and just kind of have ChatGPT help you out. You can always listen. Hey, I leverage ChatGPT a ton when I was in these processes, but obviously personalize it. Don't just go off of what they say. But I would say overall, just make sure that you know a little bit about the company. Make sure you have little facts, little things you can kind of throw into your cold call a little bit to impress the interviewer. I mean, honestly, just know a little bit about the company. Practice in the mirror. Have somebody you work with, or have someone in your family or whoever you live with work with you a little bit on it. Just have a couple of mock calls. Follow what they tell you in higher levels. Just they basically give you you have everything all the tools at your disposal. So I would say use it. Don't think that you're a master cold caller right off the bat, because you're definitely not. I definitely wasn't. I messed up a few times. Kind of a funny story. We can get into it later with one of the companies maybe. But essentially, they're going to throw some curveballs at you in these cold calls. So don't think that you know exactly what they're going to do. Oh, they're going to use this objection or this objection. Like, they're going to throw some crazy stuff at you, and they want to see how you handle it. So just be able to know how to pivot, know how to handle certain objections, and just be able to just kind of keep the flow going.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And if you're cool with that, I'd love to pick into that if you had any particularly big failures. Like, we don't have to mention names or companies or anything, but it's like whether it's on YouTube or in higher levels, like, this is part of the job. This is something we're very transparent about. And especially I think in the context of interviewing, like, sometimes the best way is to have a massive failure. You kind of rip that Band-Aid off.
Yes.
And you start playing, like, you're not playing so tight. Like the worst case has already happened, and you've also learned a lot from just what went wrong personally. So I'd love to pick in, again, whatever you're comfortable sharing. If you had a particularly rough interview or two, what happened and what were some of the biggest takeaways?
Sure, yeah. So there's one company, it was not just one cold call, but they wanted to give you 3. So they wanted to give you 3 different objections for all the calls that you did. So person I interviewed with, really nice guy. I was obviously, cameras were off because, it's kind of awkward to be looking at somebody on a camera when you're doing a cold call. So first 2 cold calls went great. Basic objections, like, oh, we're not interested in this, or oh, we're working with this company already, like basic stuff. And then the third one, I'm thinking, okay, they're probably going to throw like a curveball at me. So let me try to like prepare myself. So I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. So basically I'm on the phone and they say, hey, would I be able to speak with so-and-so? And like, oh, were you expecting a call? And like, yeah. No, I spoke with them last week and everything. And they're expecting the call. And then there was just this long pause. And then the person I was interviewing with said, oh, actually he's dead.
Jeez.
And I was just lost. I was lost in the sauce at that point. I just didn't even know what to say, what to do. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. And I'm thinking to myself, do I be empathetic and like just kind of like call back at another time, or do they want me to still continue trying to book the meeting? So it was a really awkward experience. But like I said, they're going to throw curveballs like that at you. But I spoke to him afterward. He's like, so how do you think you did on that one? And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I might have dropped the ball on that one. He's like, listen, they were very transparent about it. Like that's an unbookable meeting right there. Obviously, like you're not expected to book the meeting for that one. We just want to see how you handle it. So again, it was not a catastrophic failure. I wouldn't say it like that, but it definitely was a big change up on me. So it kind of made me like my brain just shut off for a second there. I really had to recalibrate my brain to that question. But like I said, they're going to throw stuff like that at you. So just be ready for it. Don't freak out. Just try to keep the flow of the conversation going.
Yeah, that's honestly the most extreme objection I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So that's one we didn't have to prepare for in the community. That's funny. But no, this has been great, man. I guess like looking back on your entire experience, like obviously we get reached out to a ton from whether it's former military, people with no tech experience. I think obviously it's great to see your background and how easily you were able to make this transition. Obviously, first and foremost, you put in the work. Like I want to be very clear. Maybe easy is a little bit too nonchalant of a word. But if there's any advice looking back on your career, your experience to date, or anything you feel like you haven't touched on that you want to leave everyone with, feel free. This is a great combo.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if you would have told me 6-7 months ago that I would be moving to Austin and starting a career at a fleet management company that specializes in AI powered dash cams and equipment monitoring and asset management and driver safety and spend management and all this kind of stuff, I would have looked at you like you had four heads. I would have been like, absolutely not. I'm probably gonna wind up going into something here back in New Jersey, like maybe stay in the hospitality industry, maybe work my way up, become a bar manager or something like that. But I thought there was a lot more out there, and I wanted to just kind of explore a little bit and see what I could do. And obviously, it's a very lucrative career, as you guys touch on in higher levels a few times there. So again, it's great. I think if you really have the ambition for it, I think you should definitely go for it. At this point, I mean, you got nothing to lose. It's like one way or another, you got to make some decisions in life. And so I had to make a decision. I decided to go through with going to higher levels. And I'm not gonna lie, I was approaching that 2-week mark for the 2-week guarantee, and I was kind of like, oh my god, do I want to do this? And like I was kind of indecisive for a little bit, but then I thought, you know what? Let's just go for it. Why not? What do we got to lose? Let's just do it. So I'm glad I stuck with it. I really am. And then obviously choosing Motive was a great choice for me personally, just because I have a lot of members of my family and a lot of friends that work in the physical economy, which is what they specialize in. That's the industries that they work with. Tons of agriculture, oil and gas, construction, all that kind of stuff. So I think that it was a good fit for me personally. And again, I guess some advice I would say, don't take the first offer. You know what I mean? Like make sure that you're like not devaluing yourself. Make sure that you know what you're getting into, know what the company is all about, like what do the research, because I read a lot of reviews about all the companies that I was applying to. Some seemed kind of scammy, some seemed a little too good to be true. So just make sure you read the reviews, make sure that you are doing your due diligence. And yeah, I would say go for it. I mean, again, if you would have told me 6 months ago that I'd be moving to Austin for a tech sales job, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. So overall, I think it was definitely the right decision for me personally, and just go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, this is a great deep dive episode for sure. Tons of great nuggets, and obviously appreciate it. And yeah, I totally agree. I think like I was at a similar inflection point in my career where it's like, honestly, I think especially if you're early in your career or at a position where you haven't climbed up so high in any one path that like you're leaving a ton on the table. I find like even in my situation as an engineer, I was overthinking what a drastic change. And in reality, like obviously one, I think you're going to come in and crush it. But two, if you get a year or two in and you don't like it, like you can always go back to that career. You can always go and transition yet again. And I think you're better for experiencing what it's like getting rejected, cold calling, emailing, all of those different skills are paying lifelong dividends. But man, great conversation, super deep dive. And obviously congrats again. We're stoked for you. If there's anything else you feel like you want to touch on, feel free. But otherwise, thanks for the time.
Yeah, I guess a quick shameless plug, I guess, if you'll allow me. Motive is actually hiring a lot of BDR roles. So to all my fellow tech sales ascensioners, if you want to reach out to Motive, they're a really great company. I think the interview process is seamless. They don't leave you in the dark. They're very transparent about a lot of stuff. So that's something I personally really appreciated. So if you're looking and you're doing your research and you're trying to find companies to look for, I know it can be daunting, going on RepView all day and looking at all these different companies like, oh, but they want this experience. Oh, they don't like entry level. Oh, they don't like this. Motive is very accommodating to all, experience levels. I'm the perfect example of that, having basically none. But yeah, no, if you want to look into them, gomotive.com. You can look at them at RepView. Great company to work for. They're hiring, I think, in Nashville and some spots here in Austin as well. So for all the other higher levels individuals that are out there, definitely look into Motive.
Nice. Well, appreciate it, man. And if anyone from Motive is out there, that's the only free shout out you're getting. So appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.